Good evening, everybody. My name is Carlo Giordano. I am the commander of Post 1244, American Legion. And with me is Ed O'Shea and Hal Dieterl, two of our members. And with us tonight is Mr. William Biangasso, Mr. Nicholas Chiappetta, and Ms. Geraldine Wussman-Clark. Now, you will have 5 minutes each for your opening statements, and we will begin with Mr. Biangasso. You can use the podium, sure. And your time starts now.
Good evening. My name is William Biangasso. I am running for re-election to the Board of Education. A couple of things about myself. I grew up in Queens, very humble beginnings with my two sisters, the son of a stay-at-home mom and a dad that worked for the United States Postal Service. At a very young age, education, hard work, and community involvement were of the utmost important to me. My dad was actively involved with the youth program that I grew up in, involved also with the Little League where I was the president, and my mom was involved with Parent Teachers Association. So it wasn't just community involvement, but active community involvement that was instilled in me at a young age. When I grew up and I met my wife, Suzanne, 20 years ago, she was already living here, it was an easy decision. This was the type of district that we want to stay and raise our child in. Eventually, our daughter, Stephanie, came along, and we have been blessed with the education she was received here in the district. As a result of my upbringing growing up and my involvement in community, I found it was extremely important that I want to give back to this community that I felt adopted me. It started at a very young age when my daughter was involved in youth soccer, and I got involved with the South Huntington Soccer Club as a coach. Eventually, I moved on to the board of directors there. Also got actively involved with the Whaling Museum and Education in Cold Spring Harbor, where I served as co-chair of the Benefits Committee, most recently as treasurer and currently secretary on the Board of Trustees. So when the opportunity arose 3 years ago with an open seat here to serve my district, I could not think of a greater opportunity. Being a lifelong educator myself, I've spent the better part of 25 years in the classroom. I went on to get my MA and my MS from St. John's University in school-based leadership, and I've had the opportunity over the last couple of years to transition to some more administrative roles. I've served as a chairperson, moderator of the National Honor Society, and most recently was elected union delegate. So I feel like I've kind of come full circle. In my time on the board, I feel like I am a much better board member than I was when I stood before you 3 years ago. There is no amount of training that we are required to take that can prepare someone for this tremendous responsibility. In the 3 years that I've served on the board, which is a small amount of time, it's one term, I feel like we have concerned ourselves and addressed a lot of important issues. We have improved safety in our schools. We have steadily seen our schools rise in the rankings. We have received local and national recognition, most recently with the recent Champions of Change Award we have up there. We have consistently been able to maintain ourselves being below the tax levy, which is extremely important. We've successfully passed the budget the 3 years I've been on the board. We have increased community involvement, most recently starting committees for transportation and UPK, and we have offered new courses at the high school with the implementation of the 9-period day. Also, in my time on the board, I feel like we have been fiscally responsible, and through our work on the audit committee and the facility committee, we have continued to make improvements in infrastructure. I'm proud of the work that I've done, and I know that I stand before you a better board member than I was when I ran 3 years ago. But I also know that there is a lot of work to do. I know that there's a lot of work to build on. Part of being a good board member is also being a good learner and a good listener and hearing the voice of the community. I like to think that I've done that, and I understand that the accomplishments, and it's only 3 years, and I serve with people that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. I've learned from them, I've drawn from their strength, and collectively, we work together. We challenge each other. We bring the best out one another. And I think that we are the best board, and I believe this is the best district out Long Island. And I really hope, with your confidence, that you'll give me another 3 years to serve you. Thank you.
Mr. Ciapetta.
Good evening. In 2004, I asked the South Huntington community to take a chance on a 23-year-old who didn't own property and who was still studying for the bar exam. I described why I had the skills, judgment, and temperament to help make the district that I graduated from and cherished even better. Fortunately, the voters agreed. Now, over 2 decades later, through transformational leadership and much hard work, our district has achieved monumental success. Tonight, I will discuss those accomplishments that I am so proud of and ask for another 3 years to continue our district's dramatic upward trajectory. This unprecedented record of achievement tells the story of how far we've come and what we can still accomplish, because the best measure of what you will do in the future is what you have done in the past. And by any measure, our district is better now than when I was first elected. Most importantly, we have transformed our district into an academic powerhouse and a model for the education of a diverse student body. Our Niche.com and U.S. News and World Report's rankings have consistently improved. We offer 31 advanced placement courses, putting us at the top of Long Island school districts. We've increased the number of total AP exams taken and the total number of AP students, while at the same time increasing the percentage of students receiving passing scores of 3 or higher. And nearly half of all Walden High School students will take an AP course during their high school career. We've been awarded 3 Champions of Change banners that hang in the back of this room by the New York State School Boards Association for innovative initiatives that bring positive and meaningful change to our students, community, and district. Our district won the prestigious nationwide Silver Magna Award from the National School Boards Association for promoting diversity on our AP courses. We've introduced K-12 coding. We constructed a cybersecurity lab and a marine biology research facility. We acquired state-of-the-art virtual dissection tables. And we've increased our pre-K program year after year as we gear up for universal pre-K in the fall of 2026, which will be a total game changer for the South Huntington School District. Key to our academic success is the talented array of administrators hired by the Board of Education and the dynamic educators that they have recruited. South Huntington is seen as a desirable location by our employees because of our strong Wildcat culture that values tradition, pride, empathy, respect, family, and hard work. Remarkably, our steady academic gains have come as we've held the line on taxes. We've complied with the property tax cap every year since it was enacted into law. For the past 5 years, we have been well below the allowable tax levy increase, including 1 year with a 0% levy increase and 1 year with a levy increase of less than 1%. And for our first responders, the board has adopted numerous exemptions in recognition of their vital contributions to our community. Turning to sports, we have empowered South Huntington's athletes one Wildcat at a time. We've added numerous boys and girls middle school, JV, and varsity teams. We've upgraded our athletic facilities, including our fitness center and the Wildcat Stadium. And we added after-school buses for our Silas Wood and Stimson middle school athletes. In the arts, we established a K-12 theater program, renovated our performing arts center with upgraded lighting and sound, and expanded the footprint of the high school to add an art gallery to showcase the work of our talented students. Personally, I have served on the board in a leadership capacity since 2012, first as the vice president and since July 2017 as board president. Through my work as an executive member on the Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association, I advocate for students, school boards, and public education at the federal and state levels. In recognition of my 2 decades of volunteer public service, I have been inducted into the Tri-Community and Youth Agency Hall of Fame, received the Suffolk County Martin Luther King Jr. Commission's Public Service Award, and was recently selected by the Town of Huntington Hispanic Advisory Task Force as an honoree for 2025. As you can see, our district has never been in better standing, and when things are going well, you do not change leadership. I look forward to campaigning for your support and votes and serving another term, empowering the leaders of tomorrow, one Wildcat at a time. Thank you.
Ms. Worstman Clark. And your time starts now.
Good evening, and thank you to the South Huntington School District community for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Geraldine Westman Clark, and I'm both honored and humbled to be a candidate for the school board. First and foremost, I want to express my deep respect and appreciation for the families, educators, and staff who make this such a special place. As a former educator, homeowner, parent, and proud lifelong resident of the district, I have a deep-rooted passion for the future of our schools and the well-being of our students. I am also a proud graduate of Walt Whitman High School, and I am excited for the chance to give back to the community that helped shape me. Throughout my career in education, I've witnessed the power of a strong, supportive, and highly qualified school system in transforming students' lives. As someone who has worked in the classroom and has been actively involved in community initiatives, I understand the importance of ensuring that our schools not only provide excellent academic opportunities, but also prepare our students to succeed in an ever-changing world. It is a responsibility I take seriously. But we also know that great schools require smart budgeting. As your school board member, I will work to ensure that every dollar is spent wisely. That means transparency in how funds are used, regular reviews of spending and results, and holding leadership accountable. We should be funding classrooms, not just overhead. We should be empowering teachers, not expanding bureaucracy. Fiscal responsibility isn't just about cutting costs. It's about setting clear priorities. I believe it is crucial that we address an issue that affects every one of us, the importance of being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. If elected, I'll advocate for long-term planning, not short-term fixes. I'll look to see what's working and build on it. And if something isn't delivering results for our students, we should have the courage to change course. As a community, we need to strike the right balance, ensuring that our children have access to high-quality education while also being mindful of the financial burden on taxpayers. I am committed to finding solutions that balance excellent education with fiscal responsibility. As someone who has been a lifetime member of the South Huntington community, I understand the unique challenges and needs we face. I will always advocate for policies that support our students, our teachers, and our community, whether it's through enhancing educational programs, supporting our dedicated educators, or ensuring that our facilities are modern and well-maintained. If elected, I will work tirelessly to make sure that our district remains a place where students are not only prepared academically, but are also well-rounded individuals who are ready to take on the challenges of tomorrow. I will listen to the concerns of all families, work collaboratively with fellow board members, and make decisions that are in the best interests of our students and our community as a whole. Our children's education and the decisions that shape their futures must be made with integrity and openness to ensure that our goals are aligned. I will work to ensure that all district decisions, from budgetary matters to curriculum choices, are communicated clearly and openly. Every community member deserves to know how decisions are made and how those decisions impact our students, families, and educators. It's a privilege to be a part of a district that values the well-being and success of every student, and I am committed to ensuring that every voice is heard, and that we continue to build a foundation of respect, transparency, and community involvement to ensure that our schools thrive. Thank you for your time and consideration. I would be honored to serve you and your children as a member of the South Huntington School Board.
Okay, this first question is actually written on 3 cards, so we can knock out 3 people's questions on, with one swoop. It's the same question. And you will have 2 minutes to answer each question. And Mr. Biangasso, you will be first. So the question is, what is your personal or main reason for running or rerunning for the Board of Education?
Yes, my main reason for running for reelection has been this desire I have to give back to the community. As I said, being involved in the community is extremely important. I feel that I've become an adopted Wildcat. I feel very passionate about this district, and I love the opportunity that I have to collaborate with my fellow board members and make a difference in all decisions. I understand that it's not just the people that have children enrolled in the schools, but the entire community that we represent. And I believe that through collaboration with my board members, through being a much more informed board member than I was before, and this desire I have to give back, I believe that I have the skills to continue to do the job. And as I said, being a lifelong educator myself, it allows me to bring a unique perspective to the board that I can understand both from an education standpoint and from the standpoint of a parent and a resident as well, what the needs of the community are.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta, same question. You need me to repeat it?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
First, I'd like to thank the American Legion for hosting tonight, and also to just recognize Mr. Charlie Armstrong, who would be with us normally tonight, and he's been a great friend of South Huntington, so I wish him well. I know he's recovering and is under the weather now, but we hope that he feels better shortly. I ran in 2004, as I said, because I was a recent graduate at the time, and at that time, there were things that I wanted to change in the district, and I think there's always room for improvement. And at that time, it was an uphill battle. You had to get people to accept you because I was very young at that point, and I was so pleased that the district and the voters supported me in that endeavor. And since then, I've endeavored to work 100% at everything that I've done, and that is because I want to make this place that I graduated from even better. And even though I've been on the board a long time, we constantly look at things and look at things again. And there's no such thing as we've done it that way, that's how we're going to do it going forward. So it's always to improve where we have been. And I think there's no question that since I've been on the board, we have improved in every measurable possible, whether it's academics, athletics, in the arts. Our students are getting into superb colleges. We're being recognized, as I said in my opening, nationally, federally, at the state level. Every single level has recognized the extraordinary work that we're doing in a very diverse community. And so I'm incredibly proud of the record that we put on the table so far. I think that this district is in great shape, but we're not stopping there. There's even more room to improve, as Mr. Biangasso said. There's always room to improve. So my goal is to be the best district in Suffolk County. And I think that's very achievable because I think we're already in the top 5 or top 10 by any measure that you are. My measurement, I think we're the best, but I think that we've still got a little room to improve. And thank you.
Ms. Westman Clark?
I've been, ever since I've been an adult, the core of me has been an advocator. I've advocated for my students, I advocate for my children, and as the union rep for 22 years in my building that I retired from, I advocated for my membership. So a big part of who I am is is an advocator, and I feel that it's a really good fit because I can advocate for my community that I love so much. I've raised my children here. I grew up here. I graduated from Whitman. My children graduated from Whitman. I'm actually a third-generation graduate from Whitman. So I believe with my educational background, my desire to give back to the community that I love so dearly, and to be able to advocate in a different way, but in a wonderful way. I believe that I can help this community and I can help this district be the best that it can be.
Okay, next question, same order. What have you learned from the recent initiatives that did not succeed, like eliminating the Princeton plan and before that, Vision 2020?
I learned that this is a very passionate district, and they love this district, and people did not want to see change. As I said, when I started my statement, I think part of being a good board member is also being a good listener and hearing the community that you serve. And while there were many, plans on the table, I think it's important to understand that people love this district so much that they didn't want it to change. And I think that there are many different ways you can go about solving problems. And if the community feels that strongly that what you have isn't broke, don't fix it, I think you have to respect that. It doesn't mean that problems that we have gone away. I think we would all agree that while we're proud of what this district has done, we love where we're at. We always know that we can strive to be better. And it doesn't mean that some of the problems that we're trying to address necessarily went away. But we recognize that one of the ways that you have to go about achieving that is recognizing that people don't want to see change and get more creative ways to do that. And one of those ways is actually inviting other people in to get different voices from the community, to also bring more people into the decision-making process, and recognize that while you're not putting the decisions that have to be made off, you're recognizing that in the very least you don't have to address them now, or you have to address them differently. Thank you.
Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Mr. Biangasso said, especially with our reorganization plan that was discussed in the fall. I think what we learned most was people were very happy with the district as it was. They didn't want us to change, and that was a testament to the leadership of the Board of Education and all the things that we had built over time. So it wasn't necessarily a rejection of the district or anger at the district. It was really, we're very happy with the current model. We think it works for us. Please don't change it. And so sometimes, even though you may disagree, we are stewards of the district and we serve the public. And so you need to listen to the public. And when the public responds that way, we decided to shift course and come up with a new alternative, which we will discuss today, I'm sure, to solve the problem. It was a problem at the time. It didn't go away. The problem was the age of affordables and some of the buildings being overcrowded. But we listened to the public, and we heard that they did not want to solve that issue in the way that was proposed. And so now we've gone to Plan B to try to find a solution that does work with the public. And that's kind of the same thing with Vision 2020. The problem there was the aging of certain facilities and the need for capital upgrades. That's a little different because that's subject to a voter referendum, so ultimately the public can give us their feedback through their vote. With the reorganization plan, that wasn't feasible. It's not something you can put up to the public for a vote, but we did hear the public through our meetings, through our emails that we received, and we shifted course. And I think you always need to have a backup plan, and you always need to listen to the public. That's what we did. We listened to the public, and now we're trying to keep the good elements of the reorganization plan, which to me the most important things were the pre-K expansion, and we're going to still move forward with that.
Ms. Westman Clark.
I think I agree with a lot of what's just said, but I think as a community member and as a parent, and yes, change is difficult, but I don't think this community is adverse to change. I think that if there's clear, concise plans put in place or discussed prior to decisions being made, and transparency is out there and the community is involved before decisions are made, I think that the community might be a little more apt to be willing to change. So what I learned from that was that we need a lot more community involvement, whether it be committees way prior, not after the community gets upset, but before the community gets upset, before it is even brought to the complete community, having some kind of committee with community involvement, where positives and negatives can be discussed, and then multiple plans can be put out there for the community. And it shows that there's good faith that the board trusts the community and the decisions that they need to be made. Like Mr. Ciapetta said, the board is the stewards of the community, and I think that's a big thing that needs to be remembered at all times. And that's what I basically learned from that experience.
Mr. Biangasso, which board meeting was your favorite of the current school year?
Well, this year, I always loved Board Recognition Day, but this year, for me, it's definitely the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the district. I think this entire year has been a celebration of the 100th anniversary of the district here, and to come together with board members, not just my current board members who've become like a second family to me, but also past board members and so many people that were involved in the community, coming together to celebrate the 100 years of the district, which we've been celebrating all year. That meeting stood out to me the most, getting the big cake together and seeing everyone there and looking at so many old pictures. And I have to say, I love all our meetings. Any other year, I probably would have said board recognition night, but this year it was definitely that celebration of the 100th anniversary. It encompassed everything that it means to be a Wildcat.
And I have to agree with that. Normally, for me, it's the Teacher of the Year celebration. That's usually the most important to me, and I always say that each year when I introduce the event, that's the most special for me because we get to see the teachers of each building and then the Teacher of the Year, and especially when the students from each class come in to support their teacher. But this year, we've had such a special year with presentations from every building at each individual board meeting, and then, of course, our December celebration, which was right on our 100th anniversary, which has been planned for quite a while, and we wanted to make it special. And the reaction that we received from the public afterwards was really overwhelming. They were so impressed by the thought that went into the event, and of course we had student performances from every building. So to me, when you have student performances, that's really always the highlight of every board meeting that we have, and especially the little ones at Birchwood and Oakwood and Maplewood and Countrywood. The performances that they gave and the routines that they did, they were so well rehearsed, and it's special. That's really what all this is about.
Ms. Westman Clark?
Well, not having served on the board yet, it's a little hard to have a favorite. I've enjoyed watching the students be honored at board meetings. I've enjoyed some of the performances, but I don't yet have a favorite. Maybe I will next year.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Biangasso, next question. What do you think will be the biggest challenge for this district in the coming years?
That's a really tough question. I think that the toughest challenge, I think for everyone is, I think living in Long Island, which is one of the most expensive places to live, is actually being able to make sure that we can continue to provide the necessary resources where the people that live and work in this district can actually afford to stay here. I think that's probably, the biggest challenge is being able to make sure that people can, as I said, afford to live and work here, and being able to ensure that generations and families can do so as well. I think it's very difficult when we have families that feel priced out and begin to leave. And as such, when people begin to leave the district, that causes a number of challenges. So I think finding ways to, as best as we can, assure that we are properly keeping staff retention is extremely important. I think also attracting new staff members to make sure that, you know, people can afford to live and work in this district, more specifically in Long Island, which is, as I said, is one of the most expensive places to live. I think that that's probably one of the biggest challenges. In the end of the day, you can't run a district if you don't have residents and you don't have staff. Thank you.
Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you. I think we've set ourselves up well for the immediate future because of our sound fiscal planning. If you look at neighboring districts, they are either pushing over the tax cap or they're right at the tax cap. As I mentioned in my opening, we've been below the tax cap every year that the law's been in place, and for the last 5 years, we've been significantly below our legally allowable levy. And that's been due to some very good fiscal planning. And our audit reports always come in excellent. So I think we're in very sound fiscal shape. Of course, there's always things that happen that are totally outside your control, such as a pandemic. But the one thing that I've had my eye on for a number of years, and which we've been advocating about, is zero emission vehicles. And if you've come to a board meeting, you know I'm very passionate about it. It's not necessarily that zero emissions is a bad idea. It's a poorly thought out idea, and we're not ready for it. And zero emission vehicles cost a tremendous amount of money. They cost 3 times more than your standard yellow bus. And you know, we have been replacing our fleet over time and taking back more bus routes in-house, which is, I think, always better. We want to provide more in-house and rely less on contract transportation because contract buses are subject to a lot more variables. But zero emission vehicles will make everything more expensive, 3 times more expensive. It'll be more expensive for us to buy the vehicles, and for the 40% that we still contract out, it'll be even more than 3 times that, because the contractors, in order to make a profit, need to push the cost back down to us. So that's the thing on the horizon, starting to begin in 2027, that if that is not lifted, pushed back, or reevaluated, that is going to be a big threat to the district and every district on Long Island. Every single district will face it. It will be a cataclysm for public school districts.
Ms. Westman Clark.
I agree with a lot of what Mr. Biangasso said. Having concern of maintaining and retaining and attracting highly qualified educators is important, and that's a concern of mine. Making sure that our teachers also are receiving the professional development they need to keep up with new initiatives and new curriculum is important. But also, as I said, I grew up in this district, and the schools that I went to are, some of them, not all of them, are still being utilized. So I think it's really important to be able to maintain and modernize our schools, and trying to do that without burdening our taxpayers. So those are a couple of the things that I think are really important that we have to keep in mind for the future.
Okay, next question, Mr. Biangasso. With the challenges and controversies over the reimagining concept redistricting last fall, if you had to do it over again, what would you do differently and why?
I think my thing was underestimating, as I said at the time, just how much this current model meant to the community. So if I had to go back and do it all over again, and you say, what would you like to do differently, is at that time recognize just how important that model was. And I think we all agreed that there were real issues, and we discussed that openly when we had that town hall style meeting back in October. The issues we were trying to address were very real. And I think everybody agreed they weren't going to go away. But that did not have to be one of the solutions to go about fixing it. So I think underestimating just how important that was, so if you ask, what would I have done differently? And then I said it that night, be a really good listener. And being a really good listener might have been knowing earlier that while we can work together and look at multiple solutions, that proposal should have never been one of them. So that, if you would ask me, yeah, that would be it. Thank you.
Mr. Ciapetta.
Yes, thank you. So there was a lot, you reflect on a lot of all of your decisions, and, we reflected on a lot. I think there were a couple different configurations that we could have put forward. I think, what we've done since with the transportation survey and the pre-K survey and focus groups are very beneficial. That always doesn't work, though, in advance because, it's very difficult. We are elected as board members to be stewards and to use our judgment sometimes and to put forward plans. I think what happened, though, was I think there was a perception that there was one plan that was the be-all and the end-all that we were going to adopt, and I think there was probably, while we were still in the planning process of a lot of things, when we finally had the presentation in September or October, I think too much time had elapsed since it first leaked out that this was being considered. So I think that probably to be, you got to present as soon as possible because I think a lot of, rumors start. And so, really, I think that was what I learned from that. I don't necessarily think that the plans were bad plans. There were plans that a lot of people didn't like, certainly. Some people did come up afterwards and say, we really like those options, and I think as Mr. Biangasso said, I don't know if we appreciated the love of the current model. I think changing from those models is always controversial and difficult. I remember the year before I came on the board, we changed from K-6 schools to the Princeton plan, and there was a lot of opposition to that. So I think people get very comfortable with whatever system is currently set up at the time. And I think that was one of the issues. And I think some other configurations with maybe not having 5 elementary schools in play, you could have had different configurations and maybe putting that out there rather than people thinking there was one plan and that was the one we were going forward with. That could be changed in retrospect.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
Well, as I wasn't on the board when the plan was put out to the community, I was a community member. And without sounding repetitive, again, I think what could have been done differently was more transparency, more clear and concise ideas put out to the community so that they understood exactly what the plans were. If there were multiple plans, how did they differ? How are they going to positively affect the community or negatively affect the community? And I do understand that it's not easy, and the board members have to make decisions, and they're elected to make decisions and represent those of us in the community. But there are ways of being able to survey the community, especially when you're making major changes to the district, major decisions. I think the community needs to be more involved, and I think that's what I learned from that whole situation. Thank you.
Next question, Mr. Biangasso. How can we incorporate basic civics and financial literacy into our kids' education? Should our kids be able to pass the same civics test required for citizenship?
No, I think the best way to do that is a lot of it is what we have been doing. I think going to a 9-period day and offering more course offerings is definitely the way to go. I'm a big believer in financial literacy. Obviously, I think in a perfect world, I think that financial investment courses, especially when we've seen, the current economic crisis that we've seen over the last couple of years, I would, argue that especially at the high school level that they certainly could be required courses. I think the best way to do that is also from a place of strength. I think one of the things you do when you have course offerings is that you're offering courses in a multitude of different subject areas. So obviously financial literacy course is extremely important, playing to the strengths of the teachers that we have in place that can actually teach those courses and making them available to the students. I think also promoting them is extremely important. I think when you promote, the different course offerings that you have up there, you allow students to have more variety and more choices to choose from. So I think that's definitely, in my opinion, the way to go, because by offering those different courses, as I said, you're allowing the students to have choice, but you're also giving the teachers, who are ultimately the ones that are going to be teaching the courses, the opportunity to help design a lot of those courses and build courses from a place of strength. Because the teacher is going to be successful teaching those courses if they're teaching it from a place of strength. And a lot of that has to do with marketability to the students and allowing the students, especially when it comes to courses like that and the high school level, to have a better opportunity to want to take those courses and be a better informed student and make better economic decisions.
Mr. Chiappetta.
Thank you. I mean, that's one of the most important things, I think, now and going forward, is improving civics. I'm not necessarily in favor of another exam. I think we have a lot of exams already, and so, that would be, if not come from me, if the state is going to impose something like that, which is always possible, I would not necessarily support it, but I wouldn't add another exam on top of all the exams that our students have to take. I think the most important job, or one of the most important jobs of a public education system, is to prepare our students to be good citizens. And hand in hand with that is civics. And I think there's a lot of ways to do it. The 9-period day has added a lot more opportunity for coursework, and I think that's important. But I think just as important, if not more important, is practical hands-on experience to give students real-life examples of democracy in action. Going to town hall to see town hall meetings, traveling to different bodies of government. I've helped now arrange, and we're working on this right now, for some of our students at the high school to go to the Suffolk County Legislature to serve as legislators for a day, where they will get to role play being a legislator in one workshop, and then being a constituent in another workshop, and then being an advocate in another. So I think that's an excellent opportunity. When you have those hands-on experiences, they're much more engaging, and the students learn a lot more from that. We've given students a lot of other opportunities. We approve a lot of travel throughout the country and throughout the world. I think when you have an opportunity to travel to Italy, for example, or to Spain and the other countries that we've improved trips to, those are real life experiences. So I think getting those real life experiences, in addition to the coursework, is vital, and we're doing a lot of that right now.
Ms. Westman Clark.
I agree. Coursework is important, but I think that the teachers and the school system is very restricted when it comes to offering a lot of extracurricular stuff because of state standards. So we have to make sure we're teaching to the standards, and it's easy to add those kind of electives, civics and things like that, in the high school or at the middle school level. But I think that all of that has to also start down in the elementary schools, because learning about democracy and civics and all that stuff can start down in the lower grades. So it's about giving our teachers the professional development, the backgrounds to be able to be highly qualified to give that kind of to be able to provide that kind of learning experience for our students. And yes, extracurricular stuff and field trips and all of that will play a big part of that. But we have to keep in mind that we have standards that the state requires us to teach. And that kind of takes up a lot of the day of an educator, I know.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, what would you like to see the board focus on in the next few years?
I think, and this has kind of come up, and I think that we need to continue to improve our facilities. I think that a lot of our buildings have been around for a long time, and I think that it's important that we need to improve the infrastructure of our buildings. I think that's extremely important. I think that kind of sparked a lot of discussion we had in the fall with addressing the fact that a lot of our buildings were basically living past their usefulness. So I think that's extremely important. I also think we need to continue to focus on being fiscally responsible. Education, obviously education. I think we, in the end of the day, we are a school district, and everything we do needs to be student-centered. So obviously continuing to make sure that we have the most rigorous of standards that we are holding our students to, and that we are actively retaining our teachers who I believe are the best in Long Island, and not just doing that, but also recruiting new ones as well. I think that's extremely important. So I think those things kind of all need to go together. We need to continue to focus on addressing the issues with our buildings and improving them because a lot of them are old. Putting money back into the schools because ultimately the most important thing is the education, and then ensuring that we have the best possible teachers, that we're retaining those, and that we are finding ways to make sure we are recruiting new ones as well. So short term going forward, that's what I would say would be the most important things I would like us to focus on.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Yes, two things, but they kind of go hand in hand. I've mentioned it repeatedly, and I'll continue to mention it because I think it's a home run for South Huntington, instituting the universal pre-K in the 2026-2027 school year. That is critically important. We took a visit to Bayshore, which is one of the few school districts that have a universal pre-K in a standalone building, and they have an excellent model there, and I think that's a model that will translate very well to South Huntington. The universal pre-K is going to be a game changer for us across many levels. I've talked about it before, I got in my closing remarks as well, but it's very important for our students as well because it will allow us to diagnose those learning disabilities and treat them even earlier. As well as everyone knows, we have a big ENL population that will help get them an extra year of schooling. So these are the students that are most vulnerable, and the earlier you can get them into our education system, the better. And that dovetails with what I think is the second most important thing. I want to see our elementary schools be pushed up a little higher. I think that's where COVID impacted us the most. Our high school scores are really doing terrifically, but at the elementary school, we've seen the most lapse and impact from COVID. So I want those elementary schools to recover more. I think the universal pre-K will help with that, and the institution of the Sabas reading program hopefully will help as well there. So that's what we're going to monitor, and I think the pre-K is going to be valuable to accomplish that goal.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
I agree that I believe the board should continue to focus on maintaining and improving the buildings in the district. Also, I think it's important to improve academic outcomes and ensure that the resources that are available to the district and all of the teachers are equitable and distributed equitably, and that we address the diverse needs of all of our students, because South Huntington is becoming an ever-changing and very diverse community, and I think it's important that we keep that in the forefront as you move forward when making decisions when it comes to how resources are utilized. I also think that building a stronger relationship with the community is important, and that means with students, parents, educators, and the broader community at large. We need to build a better and stronger relationship and be more transparent and have more community involvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, what 3 things do you plan to accomplish during your term?
Yes, I would certainly like to continue to see us climb up the rankings every year. I think that we have the best district of Long Island, and when you look at the constant district rankings, we are constantly moving up every year, but the goal would always be to be number 1. So I think strive for academic excellence is extremely important. I also think the second thing is, and this kind of came up a lot, is also building relationships with the community. I think that's extremely important. I think being an active voice and a presence in the community that we represent is extremely important. As I said, we don't just represent the students here, but we represent the entire district, not just those people that have students involved here, but the entire community. And then I think to provide third thing would be to have the most modern facilities we possibly can. I think that's extremely important, and doing that in such a way that we are continuing to keep our teachers and recruit new ones. I think that, as I said, I think that's extremely important. I think in the end of the day, education is the most important thing, and safety as well. Those 2 things go hand in hand. So I don't want us to just ensure that we have the best educators, but I want us to also assure that our buildings are the safest that they could possibly be, and have the best facilities they have to teach in as well. I think those things go hand in hand.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Yes. Mention again, universal pre-K. I think will be the main thing in the next 3 years. Second, I touched on a little bit, to continue to take back more bus routes, because that's good for our students, good for our families to have our own bus drivers, and also it is a fiscal savings. Each bus route that we take back brings us fiscal savings. So I think that's important, and to continue that trend, to continue to modernize our bus fleet and to take back more routes. That's the second thing. And the third thing is, I think our facilities are really on good shape. Obviously, we've got a huge plant, and that's the terminology for all of our buildings. So we've got a big space, and there's always things that we can improve on. A couple areas in particular. Starting with this budget, outdoor learning spaces at the elementary schools. We've got 2 in the budget for this year. I want to put 2 in the budget for the following year. Something that we've started to do last couple of years is Stimson Middle School. It was not the best design, that middle school, if you've been in there, and it's got a lot of different colors throughout the hallways, so I want to make that a much more inviting space. I want Stimson Middle School to have a wonderful reputation, and we've already started that by turning over administration there, and I think we need to improve the interior of the building to match that. And also fields. We're putting in this year in the budget a turf field, and I think we need to look at our fields district-wide to make sure that they're up to par. So those 3 things: universal pre-K, continue to take back more bus routes, and targeted aspects of our facilities in the areas that I mentioned: outdoor learning spaces, fields, and Stimson Middle School.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
A few things that I think are important to put on the forefront, and that's supporting our educators and making sure that we retain and recruit highly qualified educators. And that's not just for classroom teachers, but that's for out-of-classroom teachers, support staff, administration. If we have highly qualified educators, then we have a highly qualified education system in place, and that's in the forefront. But I also think that advocating for inclusive and equitable curriculum, as I said before, this is a very changing community, ever-changing community, and we have a very diverse community, and so we have to keep that in mind when we're choosing curriculum and making sure that everybody is included when we choose our curriculum. Also, maintaining lower class sizes. I think we should make sure that we can do that as a district, and maintaining and improving our facilities. I've been here for my entire life, and so I know that the buildings, although the district has done a wonderful job thus far maintaining them as best they could, there still can be some improvements that need to be made, because if we want our district to grow, or if we want our buildings to remain, we need to maintain them and improve them and modernize them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, for incumbents, why should we re-elect you? What are your accomplishments? For non-incumbents, why should we elect you?
Yes, I'd like to hope to be elected because I'm dedicated, I'm passionate, and I'm much more, I think, informed than I was 3 years ago. I think that, every time you run, and I hope to continue to have the public's trust, that you become a much more informed board member. When I sat here 3 years ago and ran for the first time, I wanted to give back. Community involvement, being an active voice and a champion for all people in the district was important to me. But there was no amount of board training. There was no amount of videos that they make us watch or trainings that you can go to that will train you for the responsibility that comes with this job. When I walked into my first meeting 3 years ago, it was overwhelming. And every time I walk into a meeting now, sometimes it can be overwhelmed. But every time I walk into a meeting, I'm more informed than I was the meeting before. And I believe that I'm a much better board member because of that. And I believe that aspect, the experience that I've had in this term, plus my passion and desire to do this job. This is not an easy job. If it was an easy job that, a lot of people wanted, there'd be a lot more of us on this podium tonight. So I think we all understand, all of us up here tonight understand the responsibility, just like my fellow board members and past board members do. So I'd like to hope that I've earned that trust through my dedication and the fact that I've become a much better board member than I was. And I believe if given another 3 years, I'll be even a better board member than I am today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you. I think one good test is something that was mentioned by one politician many years ago. Are you better off now than you were 3 years ago? And as I've outlined today, I think in every respect, the district is better off than it was 3 years ago. Our test scores have improved. Our students are getting into better and better colleges, and the prestige of the district is rising internally and externally. We've been able to do all of that by having some of the lowest tax cap levy increases in the town of Huntington. That's virtually amazing. And we've been able to do it with no staffing cuts. So those are things that we're incredibly proud about. If you look at our neighboring districts in the town of Huntington, we're either the lowest or the second lowest this year in our tax levy increase. And all of the others are either at the tax cap or making significant cuts. We learned today of one district on Long Island that are cutting 50 positions. We haven't cut any positions this year. We haven't cut positions, teaching positions in a number of years. So that is critical to our success. Our educators are stellar. I think we've been able to recruit great teachers. We've paid our teachers fairly. We've had 21 years now of labor harmony. There hasn't been a day since I've been on the Board of Education that the teachers have not had a contract, and we just settled a new contract, which was, we think, very fair to them and recognized all that they've done for our district. So, and also, I play a little different role on the Board of Education. I serve a leadership position, and that's something that I take very seriously. You will see me at tons of events. I want to be present to see what the students are doing. I want to support the students, whether it's watching flag football games or just before here, I was over at the National Language Honor Society inductions. I want to go to everything. I go to the Eagle Scout ceremonies, moving up Scout ceremonies, and I think it's very important because my role is not just as a board member, but also the leader of the board and the face of the district.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
I sit before you seeking your vote because I believe that I can be an asset to this board. I believe that I can be an asset for the school district and for the community. As I said before, I've been an advocator my entire adult life. It is something that I'm passionate about, advocating for my students, advocating for my children, my own personal children, advocating for my members of my school district that I worked for, and advocating for my community. I've lived here my entire life. I love this community, and as I have 37 years of experience in education, I believe that I could help this board move this district in a positive trajectory and do it in a very transparent and clear and concise way and learn. I'm a good listener. Well, I think I'm a good listener. I don't know if my family thinks I'm a good listener, but I believe I'm a good listener. I'm willing to listen. I'll listen to and be open-minded to hear the concerns of the community and bring it back to the board and do my due diligence to help this community thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, what particular perspective and expertise do you bring to the role as a parent, educator, etc.?
I think that, I take that there are multiple levels. I think that obviously being an educator, I think is important as well. Understanding the unique challenges that our educators face every day. I think that's extremely important, being an educator and recognizing that. Being a parent as well, I think is also important as well because I think that being a parent of a current student in the district, I'm seeing firsthand the wonderful things that are going on in the district. My daughter is excelling, currently at Whitman, and I know that is because of the wonderful teachers she's had and the wonderful administrators that she has had. And I also understand that the role that the board has played in allowing those educators and administrators to do their job. So I think having that perspective of being a parent, being a spouse, being an educator and a community member allows me to kind of look at all different perspectives and understand where everybody is coming from. I think that's important because in the end of the day, every one of us here, while we're all members of the same community, we all have different needs. We all have different perspectives, and I understand no one person's needs are unique. I like to hope that not to use a generic term like check off every box, but I like to think that in terms of every possible role one could have in a district, I check that off, and I think that's important to bring that perspective to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Yes, thank you. I view myself as a leader, an advocate, and a lawyer. Those are the three things I would describe myself as, and three big characteristics, and they're all helpful. As a lawyer, I provide critical thinking and analysis, and I try to analyze each decision very thoroughly, not to make any snap decisions. As a board member, we make dozens and dozens of decisions at each board meeting, and then decisions constantly throughout the course of the year. So throughout my time on the board, I've probably made thousands and thousands of decisions. I'm very proud of most of them. I'm sure a couple I've gotten wrong. I think that's par for the course with any. But when you apply a critical thinking lens to it, you tend to make the decisions right more often than not. In terms of advocacy, I've been a respected voice for Long Island. I've been on the Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association now for a decade. That gives me a very unique opportunity and a vantage point. I have a seat at the table with important people who advocate across Long Island, who advocate nationally and who advocate at the state level. And that is very important because we face a lot of pressures and regulations that come from the state more and somewhat from the federal government. And like I said, with zero emission vehicles and a whole host of other things that we advocate for, whether it's those vehicles or facilities. Our facilities are governed by a lot of Byzantine rules and very difficult concepts, and whether it's the Wicks law or whatnot. And so we need to advocate for, and we have advocated for changes in those facility laws. And lastly, as I said, lawyer, advocate, and leader. I've been a leader of this board since 2012, first as vice president and now as president. And that's something that I take very seriously. In that capacity, I've established relationships with local leaders, local elected officials, local education leaders, and I've helped secure tens of millions of dollars in grants for the South Huntington School District, which has gone right back into our facilities.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
Can I ask you to repeat the question?
Sure. What particular perspective and expertise do you bring to the role as a parent, educator, etc.?
Well, I think without sounding repetitive, as I said, I have been an educator for 37 years. I'm retired now, but I've served in the capacity in the classroom, out of classroom, in a pseudo-administrative position, and I think that having all of that experience behind me gives me a different perspective than many of the board members who are not educators, because I see what the education system likes from the inside out. As a parent, my children were raised in this district, so I know the school system very well. I went through the school system. In fact, both of my children, I actually can say, went to every single school in this district, because my eldest one was in dual language, so she was in the other side of the district for her schooling, and my youngest went to our assigned schools. So I've seen every single building. I've had a child go through every single building, so I've seen that perspective, and I understand that. And each school has its own culture, even though it's within the same school district. Each school certainly has its own culture. So I've been able to witness that, and I bring that to the table. And as a community member, I have seen this community change and grow over the last 6 decades. And so I am very in tune with what needs to be done here in this community and in this district. So I think that the perspective I bring is that I've had a plethora of experience in all those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, how can we support both our high achievers through enrichment, AP, and even IB, while also meeting the needs of all students wherever they're at?
Yeah, I think that, excuse me, this comes back to something I discussed earlier with course offerings. Recognizing that you need to teach to all your students. I think that we need to challenge our students with the most advanced courses we possibly can. Also recognizing, in addition to offering, advanced placement courses and honors courses, also offering courses to students that might not necessarily meet the need to take AP courses. I think that part of the what makes us a great district with the plethora of courses that we offer is to make sure that we appeal to all different students, to make sure that we offer electives in multitude of classes, and recognizing that we teach all students, from the highest achieving to all those in between. We need to make sure that we have teachers that are comfortable teaching those AP courses, have the qualifications to teach those courses, and to challenge all of our students, but in the same token, offering electives in other areas as well. I think that sometimes a lot of students just need to find their need. I think, part of what we've done celebrating the 100 years is seeing all of the performances that have taken place this year. And I remember, when I went and watched Birchwood's concert, I was blown away by more than 50% of Birchwood population was actually involved in the arts. And I think exposing students to classes in other areas as well, especially the arts, is extremely important. We might have the next future star on Broadway sitting here in our district and might not know it yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you. Great question, and it's actually something that we discussed yesterday. We had a forum for our local realtors yesterday, and our Walton High School principal, Dr. John Murphy, who I think is the best and finest principal on the island, spoke about our AP scores and our AP numbers, and how he was so proud of the fact that half of the high school, which has nearly 2,000 students, will take an AP exam by the time that they graduate, and that it was his goal to push that much higher and to get it to 100%, which would be amazing. And we've done that by breaking down a lot of barriers to AP courses. When I was in school, it was very difficult to get into the AP courses. If you weren't in an honors course, essentially that pretty much blocked you from getting in. So we've eliminated some of those barriers. We instituted a VAP program to allow more students to get into AP, which is something that we receive national recognition for, and that Dr. Murphy has spoke nationwide at, including conferences in Seattle. And that was one of the reasons that we won the Magna Silver Award by the National School Board Association. So we've broken down those barriers. And he mentioned yesterday that it's very significant statistic that students that take an AP exam in high school are much more likely to complete college than those that have not, because they've been exposed to that rigor at an early age. And so I think that's incredibly important. It's not just important because schools look at the AP's exams that you take, but it's also important because it gives you that first step experience, a college level course in high school. And also, we're a middle class community. A lot of our students are going into college now with at least one semester or more of credits for them. So all those things are very important.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
The school board plays a vital role in curriculum decisions as it oversees the educational policies of the district and ensures that the curriculum aligns with the district's mission and the community core values. So it's really important that when decisions are made about curriculum from elementary to high school, that there's inclusivity and equitability throughout the grades. So it's easy to talk about what's offered in the high schools, but we have to remember the middle schools too. We have to remember that we have a diverse community on all levels, and that even down on the elementary and the middle schools levels, we need to make sure that we're reaching the needs of those students as well. So I think that if school board members help to ensure that there's high quality and comprehensive curriculum that supports all student learning and prepares every diverse student and every student of the district, that we're going to have future success. And I think that that's a key thing that has to be remembered when it comes to curriculum.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, do you support keeping or eliminating the Princeton Plan, and what have you learned from the recent initiatives that have not succeeded, like eliminating Princeton Plan and Vision 2020?
Yeah, I support keeping the model as we have it here in the district. The K-2, 3 through 5, the sixth grade center, which and sixth grade center, you know, as I said, that was something I really underestimated until I was a parent myself, so my child go through it. So I 100% support keeping the current model we have in place here in South Huntington. As I said earlier, I think one of the things we learned is while we have real needs that need to be addressed, the model we have in place is working. If it's not broke, don't change it. So I think it's extremely important that we recognize that going forward, but it doesn't preclude us from recognizing that, one, we can improve upon that model, and two, there's always an opportunity to succeed and to do better. I think one of the things I learned to go into that process was just, in fact, that we acknowledge that we can be better. We acknowledge that there are challenges we face, but we don't have to go about doing it by changing a model that works. And as I said, especially the sixth grade center itself, it was something, you know, being a parent myself and seeing my child and her friends go through it, something you really underestimate until you witness it firsthand. And so the importance of that transition from fifth to the sixth grade center, and then to 7 and 8, and then on to the high school. So I think what we're doing is working, but I think we shouldn't allow that to let us not make change going forward. But change could come without changing the model. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you. I'll be relatively brief on this because I think we covered some of it before. You know, as we discussed, we presented it to the public. We got the feedback from the public. And then in late October, early November, Dr. D'Elia made a recommendation to the Board of Education that we continue with the current model, K-2, 3 to 5, and 6. And then the board took a vote on that. I voted in favor of Dr. D'Elia's recommendation. And so that was my position at the time. It's my position now that we continue to keep K-2, 3 to 5, and 6 as it is. And I would not go back on that word. We heard from the community. The community was happy with the current organization of the schools. And one reason that we're having so much success in driving our district forward is that we eliminate a lot of controversies. And so we want to steer clear of that because it distracts from our mission. And I think when we made that announcement, we've gotten right back to doing what we're doing, providing high quality education for our community at an affordable level.
Thank you. Mrs. Westman Clark.
I agree with the board's decision to stay the course as far as the way the district is now set up. I think that there needs to be more conversation with the community to see what their needs are and what they really truly feel about the redistrict or the reimagining. I think that's what you named it, right? The reimagining. But I think that research has to be done. I think that more conversations have to be done when making any kind of major changes to the district. And yes, changes is not easy, and it's not always an easy thing for people to accept, or for something like the board to be able to communicate and get the community on board with. But I think that the decision to stay the way it is now was a good decision. But I don't think we should stop there. I don't know that it's where we need to remain. I think that looking at the future and the needs of the community and the school district is something that has to be something that we constantly are looking at, and maybe revisit this down the road.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso. How does the district interact with the town, i.e. the empty stores in the district, which result in a loss of tax revenue?
I think we interact with the town, I think, by being an active presence in the town. I think that's extremely important. Something Mr. Ciapetta said, being a presence, I think, try as best as I can to support this district by showing up at district events, patronizing local businesses, especially those businesses that patronize the district, that are real friends to the district, because I think that partnership goes hand in hand. We've had a number of businesses that we've recognized that have, hired our students, that have offered internships to our students as well. So I think recognizing that we are true partners in the community. And as I said before, sometimes, the perception is that as a school board member, we only represent those people that have children in the district. That's not true. We represent everybody here. And that includes people that are retired, that includes people that own businesses, that includes people that work here and live here, but don't have students in the district anymore. So I think being a real presence in those events, I think also speaking up when we see things that we don't like. I think that's extremely important as well. Being present in the community, supporting those businesses, and I think recognizing that partnership is real and continue to be partners in the community, and also voices for change. If we see that there is something going on and it's in our power to change it, to utilize that voice. And even if we don't have the power to change, we do have the power to at least bring issues to the forefront. So I think continuing that partnership and supporting all those in the district, extremely important.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we've spent a lot of time in recent years cultivating relationships and partners with our local businesses, and we've seen that it's a symbiotic relationship. Often they will donate to us. They've donated and helped us support our Winter Wonderland, our 100th anniversary, and our homecoming. And hopefully by doing that, they're getting exposure, and people are going back and patronizing those businesses. So we have established those relationships already. We have a lot of relationships that I think is very important. We don't inoculate ourselves and be insular. We reach out, and Dr. D'Elia has spent also a lot of time cultivating relationships. We've developed a lot of relationships with our elected officials. A lot of school districts will not communicate with their elected officials. They don't want to be seen as taking sides, but we have friends on both sides of the aisle who help us with a lot of things. Assemblyman Steve Stern has been a great partner for us, and he's brought, as I mentioned before, millions and millions of dollars to our district in grants that we use to construct the cybersecurity lab, as well as to open up our art gallery. And we've also made partners with other community groups as well, whether it is the NAACP, whether it's our Hispanic partnerships and with Hispanic students and Hispanic organizations, as well as the Muslim societies and other organizations. We've even been invited, I've been invited many times into houses of worship. And we were invited, and we got a plaque up on the ward there for some work that we did when we added the Eid holidays. So we have developed partnerships across the board, and we've been respectful with all those groups, recognizing that we're a very diverse district, that there's dozens and dozens of languages spoken in the high school. So we've established partnerships across the board with local businesses, local elected officials, and advocacy groups.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
Well, obviously, having not served on the board yet, it's a little difficult to answer this question. I will tell you that when I was an active member of the Marching Band Parents Association, and I was the treasurer of the board, we reached out to the community for many reasons and got lots of help from the community. So I'm very well aware of the importance of our businesses in our community, but also as a consumer and a homeowner and a resident of the district, the businesses in this community are important. And so I would continue to, as a board member, reach out and make myself available and become aware of community, the businesses in the community. And I think that's an important aspect of the South Huntington community and should be known to the board, and they should know us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso, why is there no playground equipment at Silas Wood for the UPK program, which that is important to child development? And is there plans for one for this year?
We certainly, plan on upgrading all of our facilities. So obviously, we need to put equipment there. I think it's extremely important, not just that we put equipment at Silas Wood so that the students there have the opportunity to take advantage of it, but I think we also need to upgrade the playgrounds at all of our facilities, Birchwood and Oakwood as well. I think that about making our space more available, recognizing that it's not just used during the school day, but also recognizing that it's used throughout the district as well. Our playgrounds, I think we need to improve upon them. So I think going forward, having the playground there is essential. And I think it needs to be appropriate for the UPK that will be there. And I think, but it's not just at Silas Wood. I think that the playgrounds in all of our facilities, and something I've seen in facilities committee, we need to improve upon them. I think because we recognize they're not just used during the school day, but our communities use them as well, outside groups use them as well, and they need to be up to par where they are appropriate for those particular age groups that are going to be using them, but for also community members and outside groups to come in and use them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Yes, our pre-K focus group is wrapping up now, and I believe that they'll be presenting to the Board of Education on May 7th their recommendations. They have many recommendations that are coming forth, the appropriate length of the school day, the appropriate times for starting and ending, how many sessions we'll have for pre-K, and whether we have 1, 2, or 3 sessions or more, and also the location for the pre-K. So once we figure that out and we have the pre-K housed in one standalone building, and I believe right now that Dr. Hender talked about in his last report, that their recommendation is to house the pre-K all at Silas Wood, and the board will certainly consider that. But wherever we end up putting them, I believe part of that plan is to install playgrounds and probably multiple playgrounds for the pre-K. So once we find their permanent spot, we're going to add those playgrounds.
Thank you. Ms. Westman Clark.
I think that was a big misstep for the district. Early childhood development depends on play. It's a huge aspect of how a child develops. So not having an appropriate playground or play area for these children to access was a big misstep. So I think moving forward, and I hope, as Ms. Ciapetta said, that wherever the pre-K is they deem to place them, that prior to being placed there, that those playgrounds are in fact installed. And I think that it's important moving forward that anytime they make a decision such as that those things get considered prior to moving children to different buildings, unless the building is completely ready for those children.
Thank you. That was the last question, unless there's any more cards at the table back there? Okay. So we'll have our closing statements, and we will start with Ms. Westman Clark, and you have 2 minutes. As soon as you reach the podium, we'll start. Okay, we'll start time now.
Thank you. As a parent, I want the best for my children, just as I know each of you wants for yours. I understand the hopes and concerns we all share for the academic success and growth of our children. As a homeowner, I know that a strong school district not only benefits our students, but also strengthens our community and enhances the quality of life for everyone who calls South Huntington home. And as an educator, I'm passionate about ensuring that every child, regardless of background or circumstance, has access to resources, opportunity, and support they need to succeed. Our schools should be a place where all students feel safe, valued, and equipped with skills they need to thrive. But we also know that creating a top-tier educational experience requires careful fiscal management. That means making sure we are spending every dollar wisely, investing in programs that have the greatest impact, and ensuring that our taxpayer dollars are used in the most efficient and effective way possible. I also believe that respect is the cornerstone of any successful relationship, and it is no different when it comes to our schools. We must respect the diversity of opinions, experiences, and needs within our community, and ensure that we are creating an environment where all stakeholders, parents, teachers, students, and staff feel valued and supported. I'm here to represent and advocate for you, our taxpayers, our families, and our community. I'm running for the South Huntington School Board because I believe that by working together, we can continue to strengthen the educational experience of our children, making sure that they have the tools they need to succeed both in school and in life. We can ensure that our schools continue to provide an exceptional education while being mindful of the financial pressures on our community. Your voice matters, and as your school board member, I promise to listen, work hard, and advocate for policies that will benefit both our students and our taxes. Thank you for your time and consideration. I would be honored to serve the South Huntington Board.
Thank you. Mr. Ciapetta.
Thank you once again to the American Legion for moderating this event. After graduating from Walden High School in 1997, I worked for South Huntington as a substitute teacher for 3 years while in law school, and since have served on the Board of Education for the past 21 years. That means that I have been connected to South Huntington schools for 37 years, or 82% of my life, which is obviously a long time. As Dr. Bernardo once said, I bleed maroon and white. In life, I feel that you're never going to be necessarily the prettiest person or the smartest. Those things are totally outside your control. But what you can control is your work ethic. And I have always promised, from the moment I was first elected in 2004, to work every day relentlessly on behalf of our students, staff, and community. That tireless effort has propelled the South Huntington schools to new heights and universal acclaim, while educating a student body that is a microcosm of our country. Tonight, we have discussed only a handful of our district's outstanding accomplishments. We could go on for so much longer. While I'm so proud of this legacy and these accomplishments, I seek another term in South Huntington because we never rest on our laurels. I truly believe that the best is yet to come for South Huntington. We are always innovating and asking, how can we do things better in the future? And the phrase, that is the way that things have always been done, does not exist in our lexicon, and we don't use it. One of the most exciting initiatives that I've been talking about tonight and that we will implement in 2026-2027 is a free universal pre-K kindergarten program with before and after care at a standalone building. This program is a grand slam for parents, students, the entire South Huntington community, homeowners, and taxpayers. When this comes to fruition, we will be one of a handful of districts on Long Island to offer such, and it will transform our district for the better. In the next 3 years, I look forward to helping implement that universal pre-kindergarten program and continuing to empower the leaders of tomorrow, one Wildcat at a time. In closing, be well, and as I like to say in my wrap-up messages, go Wildcats.
Thank you. Mr. Biangasso.
Thank you. I have been humbled and honored to serve you these last 3 years. You know, as I said earlier, there are two types of wildcats. There are those that are lifelong and those who are adopted. I'm proud to be an adopted wildcat. I have a tireless work ethic. I am passionate about this community. I'm passionate about education, and I'm passionate about the people, the places, and the businesses that make it up. I've been humbled to serve these last three years, and I believe that we have accomplished a great deal. But I also know going forward there's more to accomplish. I recognize that as I stand before you, as I said earlier, I'm a much more informed board member than I was before, especially coming in and not knowing what encompasses serving on a board, the countless hours serving in meetings, collaborating with my fellow board members, the number of documents that we read. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about this community, and I love being here. I'm an active presence. I thoroughly enjoy coming to meetings. I enjoy watching our students perform. I enjoy sitting here and making votes and making decisions that I like to hope better the community. In the end of the day, I'd like to think that I got more right than I did wrong, but I also understand that there's room for growth. And if you entrust me with another 3 years, I promise you that I will continue to work tirelessly. You'll always see me active in the community. I will answer your concerns as openly and honestly as I can be. And if I don't have the answer to a question, I will tell you that I don't have the answer, and I'll do my best to find it out. And I will continue to foster the sense of communication and openness with my fellow board members and the community. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending tonight, and thank you to the district for allowing the American Legion to be a part of this.